Hello everyone and welcome to Sky Betting and Gaming's Virtual Career Spotlight. I'm sure most of you will already be aware, but for anyone who isn't, we're one of the UK's leading betting and online gaming businesses, based out of Yorkshire with offices in Leeds and Sheffield, as well as one in Solihull. Our teams design, build and maintain products such as Sky Bet, Sky Vegas, Sky Poker, Sky Bingo and free-to-play games like Super 6, as well as many others. Our Virtual Career Spotlight series will focus on a different team from across the business each week. It's your opportunity to hear from our experts. Some initial housekeeping before we introduce today's speakers. We want this to be an interactive session, so we encourage you to ask questions throughout via the chat, which is on the side of the video. Once we get to the end of the session, I will then run through that and ask any questions that you choose to ask. To be able to do so, you need to have a YouTube account, so please do try and sign up to that at some point throughout the video. The session will also be recorded, so you'll be able to watch it back to a later date. Today's spotlight is on our gaming design and UX team. Joining me, we have Tim Keith, Richard Towers and Adam Smith. I'll let you guys introduce yourselves. So Tim, if you could get the ball rolling.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks for taking the time to join us today. So a bit of a background as to myself and my role. So I'm head of design and UX here at Sky Betting and Gaming. I work within the gaming tribe, which covers all of our gaming products such as Sky Vegas, Sky Bingo and Sky Casino. I joined SBG back in November of last year. Prior to that, I was head of design at DAZN for 8 years, and then back in the late 2000s, I was a freelance designer here at SBG. So I had a bit of background information and knowledge about the company before I started, and I guess that was one of the kind of main attractions, really, just to sort of come back to the business, brought what I'd learned from other parts of the industry, and really just try and drive forward what we do from a design and UX point of view here at SBG.
Brilliant. And Rich, how about yourself?
Yeah, Rich Towers. So I'm a lead UX designer here at SBG. So I have been here for like pushing 7 years now, I think. I'm working in the gaming tribe. Obviously, I'm sort of overseeing a lot of the projects across all the different products that we have. So on Vegas, Bingo, Casino, all of those sort of within our portfolio. I guess, a bit of background was I used to work at agencies. Previously, I was at Delete, and then before that, I was in sort of a small mobile agency as well, sort of specialising in sort of native iOS applications and the design of those. And then I think I just kind of wanted to go client side after a while. I wanted to spend some time really putting some focus on, not many things, but, just I guess, looking at what we've got and then being able to reiterate on those and progress the products and push them forward. So I think it was just a case of wanting to shift my focus a little bit.
Okay, brilliant. And Adam, you're a relative newbie. So how long have you been with the business now?
So it's been 5 months now. So I joined at the start of the year in January. And yeah, I'm one of the UX designers within the gaming tribe, obviously under Tim and Rich here. So it's been quite good in terms of, getting to learn the ropes so far across the time that I've been here. But previous to joining SBG, I was working at DAZN, previously under Tim himself. So before that, I was at Sage, which is based in Newcastle, because I was there for uni. So I decided to come back to the Holy Grail that is Yorkshire. And yeah, basically, like the main thing that drew me was the fact I knew it was a huge company, but the actual amount of opportunities for myself to move forward, a new challenge for the new year, and basically just to carry on learning. I didn't want to feel like I was standing still and got too complacent, I suppose. So I just saw it as a massive opportunity to benefit myself and try help the team as much as I can, basically.
Okay, brilliant. And Tim, can you tell us a little bit about the rest of the team? So obviously, we've only got 3 of you here today. It would have been a much busier call if we had the rest of the team joining. And what do they do, and what are the objectives of the team as a whole?
Yeah, so besides the 3 of us, we've got a team of 12 in total. That's a mixture of disciplines between UX designers and UX researchers. So in terms of like the structure, I'm obviously heading up the department, looking at overall like operation of how the team works, how we operate, how we optimize our products and our design output. And then from a UX point of view, we're looking at really trying to understand our customers, really try and, I guess, walk in their shoes, understand what pain points they may have, where we can optimize the experiences. And then from a design point of view, it's just trying to make sure that we are we're collectively optimizing our products, so that whether that be native app or whether that be responsive web, we've got multiple products that we look after within the gaming tribe. So our collective responsibility is to try and drive those forward wherever possible. We actually sit within like the wider product team within the gaming tribe, which means that we can be well aligned on like the roadmap and what we need to deliver. But then also just trying to make sure that whilst we're capturing the needs of the business, we're also making sure that we're capturing the needs of our users and making sure that experience is as optimal as is possible. So yeah, 12 of us in total, mixed between design and research.
Brilliant. And Adam, again, sort of relative newcomer, and given the experience that you had working with Tim in the past as well, can you tell us a little bit more now about the current design and UX process? So who gives you the brief in the first place? Where does that come from? And then how do you deliver on any given briefs that you've been set?
Yeah, I mean, me and Rich will probably be good at addressing all this really, but essentially, I mean, Rich, I suppose it'd be better for you to explain the kickoff, and then I'll just move further into like the nitty-gritty parts.
Yeah, so in terms of process, projects can come from many different places, whether that's something that comes through our objectives and key results group, which, we have multiple of those sort of specializing in different areas with different focuses across gaming. They may have something that they might particularly be looking into to improve, a metric or something on one of our products, in which we can then get involved and start actually seeking, different areas of opportunity to help drive those sort of objectives and key results going forward. We also have things that come in from the different products themselves. It might just be like a new iteration on a feature or something that we need to start putting some focus on. So, often a brief will come in from them. We have a lot of stuff that comes through, a lot of projects that come through sort of marketing campaigns. So often we'll have a feature that is heavily reliant on marketing as well. So all of those things kind of factor into the different types of work that we get through as a team. There are areas of, self-driven opportunity as well within the team. So we do have a lot of concept work that we kick off. That's opportunities we've seen or issues that we find on the site or any one of our sites that we think, hey, there's something we need to do about this. What can we do? So we'll often invest time into that ourselves, and they'll often influence the way that we go about doing things. But yeah, in terms of the rest of the process, it could be anything from competitor analysis to, not a kind of research aspect of it, competitor analysis to remote studies to talking to our customers to find out what the real problems are. We as a business might have an assumption on what we think is the right thing to do, but actually hearing where those issues are from our customers is fundamental to the way that we carry our work forward and how we go about doing that. So I guess, after all the research stage, and we'll start going into wireframing and reevaluating our site. So looking back at the structure of our site, is it right for what we're doing? How do we evolve it? What do we need to do to get to that next level and be able to innovate on these new things? I'm just trying to think what else we've got now.
We've got all sorts, haven't we, really?
Yeah, you haven't left much there for Adam to answer, really, have you?
We can keep going. Obviously, there's a lot of wireframing, a lot of prototyping, whether it's hi-fi, lo-fi. Adam, you can talk about the design aspect of that afterwards, and how that kind of transitions. But there's quite a few fundamental steps that we take with every single project.
Yeah, I think the key things are like Rich says there, like it's just identifying that problem and being able to see, from different insights, different ideas that we may already have. We might have some input from, some source of data that we've been collecting stuff on from before, just to really get that initial understanding about what we're actually trying to focus on. But yeah, as you kind of go through the natural design process anyway, it's just trying to, understand the customer needs, then moving on into understanding the full journey. Like, are there highlighted areas that we know that there's pain points or improvements that we know that can be made? And then we'll basically go and make a new version of that with any recommendations from key stakeholders within the business or whatever we feel, is fit moving forward. So yeah, from an early point of view, it's more just the understanding, but as you're moving further along into the design phase, it's more about being able to communicate the idea that you've got or whatever in some form of sketches or wireframes or whatnot, just so that you're able to communicate with everybody that's involved what the idea is. Everybody's then on the same page, and then you can obviously drive that initiative forward and make it a gradual process where you're able to make them into more high fidelity prototypes, and then continue testing with customers is something that I think, you know, we like to focus on, is that at different stages during that process, it's important to keep checking in with the customers and ensuring that we are on the right path, because the worst thing that could happen is that we put something out that we then test with users or get feedback from, and then it's not exactly what we're hoping for, and that'd obviously be a disaster. So we want to ensure that we're pushing out the right things, not wasting obviously effort internally, but also making sure that it's things that customers are going to use and enjoy using.
Okay, brilliant. And as a fast-paced business, which we definitely are, how do we, or how do you as a team rather, strike the balance between proactive and reactive projects? As in, what are we aiming to do over the next 12, 18 months as a proactive plan compared to we quickly need to make changes to areas X, Y, and Z? How do you strike that balance?
Yeah, so I think that's around kind of, I think like I mentioned it before, really, it's seeking that opportunity. So, you know, reacting to things, yeah, that's great. Like those pieces of work will come through. There's a problem, we need to fix it. Let's go do that. We'll follow our standard, I guess, process to actually get to the end of that project. But, you know, being a bit more proactive and actually seeing where the opportunities lie within each one of our products and what we actually need to fix and how we can focus on that is something that we are, or I guess we are just really starting to nail down now. So we're actually generating a set group of ideas or concepts that we as a group feel are valuable to the business. And now we're actually going out and, you know, doing the research, looking into where those problems are, speaking to customers, defining, you know, what is ease of use, for example. It's trying to get to the bottom of what a customer or what perception a customer has of ease of use and what that means for each product. So, yeah, a lot of our concepts that are coming out now and that we're pushing forward are really, really focusing on how we can better the product. You know, not necessarily just reacting to something. We do that anyway. Like everyone has to do that where they are, and they have to fix certain things that may need to be fixed. But actually, it's around just seeking that opportunity, and we're trying to just give a bit more of a free-flowing approach to that. So if you see something, you feel that that's something or an opportunity to go and do something about it, then raise it, and then we can start formulating a plan around that.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's just to add on that, it's just trying to make sure that we're using that insight that we gather just to kind of inform those decisions going forward, and almost trying to not neglect on those simple things that actually might make a bigger difference, as well as the bigger ideas. So I think the more we can also try and talk to customers and build that insight and understanding of what is important to them, it should allow us to make those informed decisions better.
Okay, fantastic. And Rich, I know there have been, sort of given the amount of time that you've been with the business, you've definitely worked on some exciting projects. We can't necessarily tell the audience too much about what we're doing right now, as that would be giving a little bit too much away. But can you tell us perhaps some exciting projects you've worked on in the past and bringing all this to life a little bit?
Yeah, I think there's been some fairly innovative stuff that we've worked on over the past years. You know, I think when I first joined, it was probably more, I guess, general maintenance to the products and not really pushing those boundaries. But I think over the past, 5 or so years, we've really been looking at things to, I guess, elevate what we do that one step further. So, you know, such things like Prize Machine, which is a free-to-play game aspect of our site. So, you know, something that gives our customers something back but for free. You know, it's the business that we work in. There's, you know, our customers have to spend money with us, but actually giving them new ways of being rewarded and playing things that are totally free and giving something back to them has been really quite cool. So Prize Machine's been quite a good aspect of that. You know, there's been Spin Zone, which a few of us have worked on as well for Sky Casino, which these are all free to play, and there's some on Bingo as well. So all of those projects have been quite cool. And I think one of the other ones that stuck out was probably we used to have one that was Bonus Time, it was called. So it was kind of giving something extra on top of your traditional gameplay for a customer. So you might be playing a game between 9 and 11, I think it was. I forget now. It's obviously a year or so ago. But yeah, so between a certain allocated time and in that window, they can actually qualify to do something more. And it gives them an opportunity to win something extra on top of what they're already doing. Again, it's a free aspect to what they're already doing. So it's just allowing them to have more entertainment, and I think entertainment's the thing that we're striving for. So it's quite a key thing to give that factor back to our customers. So I think like those have stuck out as like pretty interesting projects, I think.
Yeah, and I think anyone that's interested in the industry probably will be familiar with those. And like I said, we are, or again, sort of your team are working on a lot of new and exciting, innovative projects, and I'm sure we'll be seeing those over the next sort of 12 months or so. In terms of bringing this to life then, sort of, I appreciate there's lots of different elements to it. There's a research and there's a design amongst others. On the design side, let's say, Adam, what different software or programs do you use? Are they industry leading? How do they compare to what you've used in the past?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because there's certain pieces of software that may differ per company, and a lot of them do much of a muchness. But I think what we use, which I've consistently used, is Sketch, which is basically the thing that we mainly design what we're working on in. So whether that's mobile screens, desktop, we'll basically design everything in there, and it's just a really cool tool. Really, that it's something that's quite community driven in terms of if there's certain plugins or certain things that you feel should be incorporated into the software itself to help, obviously with design work, then they're quite open to hear about like what you wanting to include obviously in the software. So that's a core thing that we use. Another few things that I've started using whilst I've joined SBG is UXPin, which is really good in terms of documenting things or doing like prototypes directly in the document, because with Sketch in previous roles I've basically designed stuff in Sketch, exported it out to InVision, which is another software, and then done it through that. But with UXPin you can pretty much do everything under one roof, and it's really handy. So I've been getting to grips with that really. And then just a couple more things is so there's Zeppelin, which we use, and that's basically where we've got to the stage where the designs are all finalised, everybody's pretty much agreed upon a certain level as to what they want those designs to be, and then we basically send the Zeppelin file across to the developers or UX engineers, and they're able to then see the actual dimensions of things, specific colours, padding, whatever it may be, and it's just so that we have that complete parity between the designs that we've created and then obviously what we're putting out on the site. And then there's just your normal like Adobe Creative Cloud kind of things if you're wanting to focus more on the actual imagery of things using Photoshop, or if you're wanting to add a bit more detail in terms of motion and stuff, then using After Effects and Premiere to do that. So yeah, they're the main ones that we use anyway.
Okay, I think you may have sort of a question which I couldn't help but ask you, like you said, 5 months into your new role, was what are you then looking forward to over the next year or so? But I imagine it kind of links in with what you just said. Is it actually just getting you to use these tools a little bit more, or is there more to it than that? What are you particularly excited about?
Yeah, I think for me, I knew by coming here that there was an opportunity for myself to progress. So one thing is to particularly focus on my own progress, but also taking what I've learned from my time at DAZN and Sage really, to help improve things like iterating on the design process itself, or implementing new functions that I may have previously done before. But it's really good, just getting myself embedded into the team and really becoming more of an expert in particular things like Sky Vegas, which I've been working on for the past 5 months, rather than just hoping that I can give, just some general advice about something that's more design orientated, actually being able to understand from different angles, like what we can do in terms of, improving the product and whatnot. So yeah, it's really exciting, and there's a lot ahead that's obviously on our roadmaps and whatnot that we're focusing on work-wise that we think's really exciting and people will enjoy once we've obviously got to those and they're out on site and whatnot. So yeah, it's really exciting.
Brilliant. And I suppose no pressure here at all on Adam, Tim and Rich, but what does it take to be successful in this team?
Yeah, so I'll add to it if you are at the end. Yeah, from my point of view, I think understanding and having sort of plenty of empathy for customers is crucial. There's a big sort of focus around like how we can optimize that. So regardless of, I guess, skill set, we have some of the team that come from more of a research background, which obviously is much attuned to their background and what they do, but also from the design side, we want to make sure that as a collective design and UX function, we can contribute to the whole process as much as we possibly can. So that means having, I guess, a desire to understand the customers where possible, a willingness to, I guess, collaborate wherever possible. We've got a really good situation whereby all of our stakeholders are very close to us, which is different to maybe how I've had teams previously on a global level. So having everyone close by and sort of encouraging collaboration, being confident to I guess lead debate and contribute to debate is obviously really important. And then also, like Adam mentioned there, like a willingness to sort of learn. SPG's got, I guess, a great culture of learning and development. So we just want to make sure that anyone that within the team has that desire to really just try and improve wherever they can, whether that be on a sort of soft skill or hard skill level. So I think they're the sort of main ones for me. I don't know if Rich has got any to sort of complement them.
No, I think there.
Okay. Sounds like you're doing well, Adam. So no pressure there. And really, a question from two questions. Being a recruiter in this scenario just now. How do people first get into designing UX? Would that be that they need to already be doing it at university? That would be the first question. So like decide who wants to answer that. And then the second one would be, what is your recruitment process? So once someone does apply and gets an interview, what would the recruitment process look like? Because I know that you like to do some task-based things as well. So I'll let perhaps Rich, do you want to answer the first one? How do people get into design and UX research in the first place?
Yeah, I guess it depends really. I think some people just have a general interest in it and they'll follow sort of your generic path of going to university or college or whatever and studying it. But we get people all the time, even like within our own business, saying, "Hey, I'm really interested in this. Like, can I come spend some time with you just to learn around it?" So there's probably a bit of curiosity there as well. People may have seen us doing something, whether it's us or whether it's someone else or whatever, and just that curiosity ends up leading them down that path of actually, I want to do this. I might actually have a try at this. So it's a bit of a career change there. But I guess like myself and I guess Tim and Adam came from that traditional path of actually going through sort of the academic route and doing it. But I guess it's like multiple routes in. I think there's a lot of internship stuff. You name it, you could probably do it. But I think off the top of my head, those are probably the kind of things that I'd see people getting into it. It's just if you're intrigued into how things work or making things look good and work well, then I think you're probably on the right route of going down that path. I think so.
Brilliant. And Tim, then, so the recruitment process, like I alluded to, you quite often like to throw a task in there. So what are the reasons for putting that task in place, and what do you learn from that? What do candidates get out of it as well?
Yeah, I'm relatively, I still class myself as new, but I've been here for sort of 8 months. So I've gone through this process myself recently. I think just sort of before the task, I think we put a lot of focus, particularly like with Alec and the team, just ensuring that we're spending plenty of time with the candidate. So that is doing some kind of initial sort of coffee chats before we get into the more of the formalities around recruitment. And then I think from a design UX point of view, I think what we always look to try and do is just give a little bit of a taste of what kind of work may be coming up. I think that gives the best sort of context to candidates around what they could potentially look at, and also it gives them a good opportunity to, I guess, show to us their expertise and their background, and what they really sort of enjoy. So it's generally very sort of open-ended, but it's something we have always tried to look to do. I mean, Adam's gone through that process more recently than myself, but I think it works really well. And just making sure there's plenty of dialogue throughout that candidate process is something that SPG, I guess, really sort of focus on through Alex's team. So yeah, I think that's really the benefit for us from a task point of view. Just really getting a feel for where people are at and what they can sort of bring to the team.
Definitely, and I suppose on the flip side of that, then. Adam, just in case we will have people going through this again in the near future, hopefully. How did you find it, and would you any hints, any advice to anyone that goes through something like that with us or even with other companies in the future?
Yeah, I mean, the whole process I thought was probably one of the best that I've been through, so far, career-wise, because I think, in terms of the way that the recruitment team work and the way that they correspond, obviously, with you is really like attentive. I found that along the way, even if I'd not heard from them in maybe a few days or so, I'd either get an email or a phone call just to see how we're getting on, even down to, Rich and Tim, basically letting me know how things are progressing. And I think that transparency during the time where you're shifting from one job to another is really important, because sometimes you're not hearing back from people maybe for a couple of weeks and you're in limbo and you're like, I don't know what's going on. But then, the communication, which obviously SPG proud themselves on anyway, and the actual culture, I think that really feeds into the actual process itself. And you really understand that as you're going through. And yeah, it's just a really easy process is all I can really say.
Well, there we go. No,
yeah.
We'll take that, and that's advice to anyone going through it in the future. It's easy. So that's the end of this section. Now we do have, like I said, a number of different questions that have come through, some on YouTube, but we've had a couple of people ask questions before the session. This section is just going to be a little bit more quick fire, so don't feel that you've got to give us massive answers to this, as we do have quite a few questions to go through. So Rich, we'll start with yourself. What is the best part of Sky Bet, and what do you look for when recruiting into your team?
Best part, I think best part's probably, I think Adam touched on it slightly, which is around the culture. I think, it's a really easygoing place to work. I think there's a lot of really, really good people here as well. And I think they're all willing to help you out as much as they can. Everyone pitches into everything, whether it's an ideation session or just any other kind of, collaborative workshop. Everyone works really, really well together. So yeah, I definitely think that's probably the best aspect of it, I think.
Okay.
What was the other? Sorry,
the other part, to be fair, we may have touched on this already, but what you can give an individual answer on this. What do you look for when you're recruiting into your team? Is there any one thing in particular?
Yeah, I think a key part for me is probably personality. I think, are they the right fit for the team? Design and UX teams are quite full of quirky individuals, so you've got to find someone that is going to fit in nicely and be, I guess, a really good part of that team and just fit in with the whole culture.
And I think a really important thing there as well, and I think companies, definitely ourselves, are starting to shift towards this as well, is that difference between culture fit and culture add. So the idea that someone could join the business and join your team, and they may not be the stereotype exactly the same as the person next to them, but they're bringing something new and something fresh. And that really is what drives us as a business forward at the moment. One for you, Tim. And again, we may have touched on this already, but how as a team do you get involved in the product's roadmap?
Yeah, so I kind of mentioned earlier that we're part of, whilst we're a design UX function, we sit within the overall product and design UX department, and but within the company. So we're sort of very well aligned with the product team around what their roadmap, which means that should have good alignment. And it also means, like Rich mentioned earlier, we can contribute to that as well. So if we seek opportunity through the various tests we do or the various bits of feedback we gather along the way, then that can really help. I guess should really try and help inform the overall roadmap. We'll have stuff that we need to deliver naturally as a business, but I guess being closely aligned in terms of where we are with the structure, that should make that a lot easier.
Brilliant. Adam, I'll send this one your way. Just as you've gone through it most recently, how do we onboard? How are you onboarded into the team? Do you know if that varies for other people that have joined the team at the same time as you? And how is new software and processes, how are they introduced to you?
So in terms of the onboarding process, I mean, for the team itself, it's, hands-on. I mean, I can remember when obviously I joined, it was more understanding like how the team functions, what kind of products we're working into, and then actually sitting on a bank of desks individually with each of the designers or researchers or even the managers, just understanding what kind of stuff that they're working on at the moment, understanding just the general processes and whatnot that they actually use day to day to carry out the work that they're focusing on. And then what were the other part of the question? How do the
so how are you then introduced to new software and new processes? It's again something that you may have touched on earlier, but is it a gentle ease into sort of everything else going on? So you mentioned there are lots of different tools that you use. Would that get thrown into you at day one, or is it slow progress in that?
I suppose, I mean, a lot of them that we, like I say, that we do use are kind of industry standard, but I mean, with UX Pin, it were more introduced to me by one of my colleagues, Craig, who's been here a couple of years now, and he was basically bigging it up because I'd used other software in the past, and I was like, "Oh, you sure this is all right?" I'm like, yeah, it's really, really good. So as soon as I got kind of stuck into it, I won't really go back to anything else now. But I think if you've seen something yourself that you thought, I'll have a go at that, or use something that's, up and coming, like I can remember DAZN, I started using something called Protopie, which is more like making the interaction side of things a lot more, rich in terms of adding more interaction, more movement into things. And that was just a case of saying, right, well, I'm going to try this for this project, see how it works in comparison to everything else. And if it works, then we can weigh up whether that's something that we want to use going forward. So I suppose, it's more, if you think you can try something in your own time or feel like, you do want to just try something in general just with a project, then it's definitely open to try new things and push those forward if you see it's suitable, really.
Yeah, awesome. And then we've got one for you, Tim. And it's a hot topic, really, especially, I suppose, given everything that's going on at the moment. But let's say if life was sort of some level of normality, remote working. So the person that's asking the question happens to live 75 miles away from us in Leeds. How could we try and accommodate somebody like that? They've got a family as well. Like, what's your view on it? And are there other people in the team that have some degree of flexible working?
Yeah, and I think on the first part, I think everyone's, I guess, in the same boat at the moment where everyone's having to adapt and work under different circumstances. It's obviously been sort of 6-7 weeks since we've been in the office, so I guess that's allowing us the opportunity to just see how remote working works, probably more than we would have done before. Just as an overall, I guess, observation is that SBG is very sort of flexible in terms of people's work-life balance and trying to work out how we can accommodate different circumstances, people living in different parts of the UK. And I think really, obviously, time will tell over the next sort of few months. But I think this period of time where we've had to adapt has probably we've probably learned quite a lot from that in terms of being able to be probably flexible a little bit more. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see. But I think as a team we've adapted relatively well. We've tried to still collaborate where possible. Obviously, nothing ever will quite beat being able to set up an ideation session or a workshop with stakeholders, but we've been able to adapt with technology relatively well. So I think there'll be some I guess, some new outlooks on stuff like that going forward.
So very, very much one for the future to focus on there as well, and it will always be a case by case basis because it needs to work. It needs to work for the person joining the team and for the team as well. One for you, Rich. How do you maintain design consistency across platforms? Do we have a Skybet component library, or is it maintained separately?
So I guess bit of history, it's kind of been separate. More recently, we've been establishing component libraries and design systems as well. So, you know, we're getting to that point now where we're going to have something to maintain continuously. So every piece of work that we do, we need to go back in and reevaluate sort of those component libraries and those design systems. So yeah, we're really pushing for that consistency now, just to, I guess, it's sort of ease as well. It allows things to just be that little bit easier. You're not going to design the same thing 3 times for 3 different portals. It's, you know, it's just, yeah, it's just easier, isn't it? It's much easier. So yeah, we're really striving to get to that point of having something in place. And there's a lot of work being done at the moment by our team to sort of get to that point.
Okay, so very much a classic case of it being a journey to get to this point, but it's definitely a work in progress.
Yeah, I don't think you'll ever get to that end. I think it'll continuously evolve. So. Okay.
And one, again, this is open for whoever wants to answer, really, perhaps Adam maybe. We've got a question saying, as a UX designer who is finding it hard to get their first break in the industry, any advice that you would give on how they can get the foot in the door? So whether that be Sky Betting and Gaming or any other business for that matter, if they think they've got the skill set, but they just need to be given a bit of a chance.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little hard, really, because it's a person by person basis, and it's a case, as I suppose, trying to focus on things that you enjoy doing, even if you're doing like side projects and stuff, just in the meantime, just so that you're actually, you know, padding out your portfolio, and then at least then, you know, you've got something to reference or show people when you're applying for new jobs, and show that you're not standing still, that you're actively trying to, you know, add more things to your arsenal, kind of thing. Because I mean, for me, it was just a case of that I ended up getting my first job because I had a presentation of like our uni work, and it just so happened that there were companies coming round, and you know, it's one of them things where it was right place, right time. But there's a multitude of things that you can go to now in terms of like meetups, or I presume now with us being in lockdown, there'll be stuff online that you can, you know, do. I don't know, like people might be doing design talks or anything like that, and seeing if there's people there, just to kind of broaden your horizons to see what opportunities are out there. Although it's obviously hard times at the moment, but yeah, just keep trying to tick yourself over with side projects, basically.
Even tuning into a session like this, Adam.
Exactly.
This could help. There's a plug. I couldn't help it.
The other thing I think Adam alluded to it there, I guess it's just being prepared. I think if you've always got something ready to show, I think that's always going to do you more good than, I guess, sort of not having something ready. So I think we obviously focus a lot around fit within the business and the people that we're talking to and the people that we're meeting with, but also it's good to get a feel for the kind of work they've done before and the potential. So I think just being prepared, having something ready to show someone, I think really adds a lot of value, particularly if you're in those meetup conversations or you're networking a little bit more. Just having something ready to share is really strong currency.
And what's the view, happy whoever wants to answer this, between online and offline portfolios? And if you prefer an online, any advice on sort of how to create that in the first place if someone hasn't done that already?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was kind of a mix, because I had like a presentation which had, you know, more up-to-date work on, that I can clearly show the start and middle and end of a project, because I think that's one thing to communicate clearly, is almost telling that as a story. Like, how did you initially identify a particular problem, like right through the different steps that we've obviously discussed during our design process. So that's one thing to show in like a PowerPoint, I suppose, format. But having an online website or something like that's also handy, because at least then, you know, you've got something that's always live, always open for people to visit, and you're able to quite easily, you know, update that with new and different projects that you've previously worked on, that you're working on now. But I've even known people in the past that aren't necessarily, native to digital design, that may have come from an art background or illustration background, that have, the core design skills and are wanting to become more, of a user experience designer or something that's more digital, that they can evolve into that role. And I think that's important as well, that nothing really goes to waste, because there's a way that you can either learn new skills or you can adapt your skills that you've got to be able to help the wider team, really.
Okay, thanks for that. Tim, this one with you, and then we'll go on to the YouTube questions. It's likely that we are going to go over sort of the 3/4 of an hour that we said the session will be. As we do have so many questions, I'll get started with this one. Obviously, with the current situation, as it is, it's hard for most industries. What impact has the lack of sport had on Sky Betting and Gaming from your stance? And how have you had to adapt our website, apps, services to fit with the current times?
Yeah, so I mean, it's also obviously hard to avoid the fact that sports has taken a big hit in this crisis. I think for us as a business, because we have such a wide range of products and services, we're finding that a lot of our customers are using our gaming products, which means that we just need to provide a bit more support to those customers. As a business, we're very proud of our work on responsible gambling and making sure that people are doing so in a safe environment. So it's potentially just looking at how we can message that more, just to maybe new customers, just who maybe might not be as much aware of what support we can provide. So I think that's probably the main thing. And hopefully sport will resume as well in the not too distant future.
Yeah. I think it's one of those where sort of professionally it'd be great for sport to return, but I think for a lot of people's sanity, I just want to watch a bit of football. I don't know if you're all the same. A Newcastle United fan as well, so talk of a takeover, but that's a whole different conversation. So going on to the YouTube questions, we do have quite a few. Some of them we have already touched upon, so I won't sort of read them all out. First one here is for you, Adam. Fairly straightforward one. What did you study?
So I picked up sticks and went to Newcastle. So I was at Northumbria studying interaction design. So that very much covered quite a broad range, from physical design to mobile apps to websites, quite a broad range of things really. And then that gave me the opportunity to then focus on a particular area that I wanted to. So it was like, here's all the different things that you could potentially do within the design industry, and pick one kind of thing. But it was really, really good. And there's other disciplines and stuff like I've touched upon that could still lead to this point. But I just thought that were the best one for me, really.
Yeah, fair play. One for you, Rich. With regards to testing your users, do you try to do any A/B testing?
Yeah. I think we're trying to ramp more of that up as well now. So I think going forward, there's been quite a few conversations around, pieces of work we're on right now. Actually, we don't really want to be releasing one version and that's it. We want to be going out to our customers with multiple variants. So we are ramping up on that sort of going forward. It's been less so in the past, but now we're trying to evolve our products, so much more that we really want to start testing with multiple variants. So.
Great. And again, you've definitely touched on this, but do you have a research team, or when you have a project, are all the team involved in the research process?
So we have a set of UXRs within our team as well, conducting studies and any other sort of research we want to be doing sort of within our team. But we do have other teams as well. We've got other research teams sat within our sort of gaming tribe. We're very much aligned now. So actually, if there's a piece of research that's coming through as a request, or something that we have to do as part of a project because that's what we feel is the right thing to do, then actually it may not sit primarily with us as a design and UX team. That actually we might collaborate with this other team, say, hey, actually we need a survey going out, or could you do a little bit of research with our customers and ask them questions, or whether it's an interview or whatever. So actually, it's quite a shared function now. I think it's not just primarily with us. It's something that we're collaborating with other teams to make sure that we're getting the most out of our research function.
And do you think that's something that's quite unique about Sky Betting and Gaming as well, the fact that we can be so diverse in terms of having lots of different groups that we can reach out to achieve success?
In terms of unique, I don't know. I can't talk for other companies. I'm not sure how other people want to go about and do this, but I think it's something that we believe in. I think it's it shouldn't just lie with one area. There's going to be certain aspects of research that we as a team can't cater for, or there might be a strength within another team that's best suited for that particular type of research. But I think it's definitely a strength that we have, and I think having the ability to go out and being able to do that and be flexible with the way that we gather our research is a really good thing.
Yeah. And another question here, again, Richard, maybe best for you to answer, or Tim or Adam. How do we measure success?
Oh, measuring success. What does that look like? You might go through a project and release it, and yes, it does really well and it generates a certain amount of money, and that's what you want to aim for. But in my eyes, you want to go on to round 2 and better that. So I don't think there's definitely a way of measuring success. I think if it produces the uplift or whatever that you're aiming for, then great. But I think you can always do better. You're never going to hit that end goal, whatever you want to call it, your North Star or whatever term people decide to use with that. But that'll forever evolve. And I think you should just keep evolving what you're doing and keep pushing for the next best thing for that particular sort of project.
And is it often looking back at the initial problem statement that you've been set?
What was that, sorry?
And is it often looking back at the initial problem statement that you've been set?
Yeah, I think so. I think you can use that as a benchmark at least. You look at what your objective was, and see how you've done based around what you set out to achieve. I think that is a great way to measure success. But like I said, personally, I believe in evolving it more. So you should never just finish at that first iteration. It's about learning from what you do and just push on to that next variant.
Okay. One thing I might add to that is just that as much as you keep evolving, it's important to then celebrate the milestone that you have hit, just to understand that it's not just a continuous cycle, and there's no what's the word for it, no appreciation for like what you've just done, but it's just understanding that it's a phased approach that will gradually improve, and these little milestones or whatnot are really important in that journey to get into exactly where you want to.
Brilliant. And a question here, this may be touching upon sort of the difference between our betting and the gaming sides of the business. How do you control designing UX within our tribes that may release separate products? Do they all come together through your team, and are the approaches always the same?
Is that across the different tribes? Sorry.
Yeah, I think that's what they're alluding to. So how do you align the processes, perhaps for betting, for gaming, for the different products across our portfolio?
Yeah, that's a good one. So we've got an equivalent team within the bet tribe, and then also within the core tribe. So what we look to try and do is each tribe is responsible for their own output and their own roadmaps and what they want to deliver. But what we look to always try and do is see where we can benefit each other along the way, and then there'll be some things that we roll out that will affect all parts of the business, not just within the sort of gaming tribe. I guess from a design and UX point of view, what we try and do is we'll have a fortnightly and catch up with the bet design and UX team just to see where we can draw comparisons, and I guess just build that wider community of design within SBG. And I think that's where we really see the benefit of having that wider network to lean upon and learn from and support.
Thanks, Tim. And I'm not sure of the wider context to this one. It may be more to your team. How do you assess accessibility? Or we can move on from that one. It was how do you assess accessibility?
Might need to help me out with it. So yes, I guess there's a few things that we tend to look at. We take a lot of we look at a lot of business insight stuff and analytics and things, and we tend to try and track as much as we can on the site. I think it's interesting as well in terms of like the types of tone of voice and things that you use on the site, and how easy it is, or how you perceive it's how easy it is for our customers to actually digest. I think that's something that we're always trying to work on, and we work quite closely with our sort of brand and creative teams, is actually making sure that the way that we communicate to our customers is in a clear and concise manner. At the end of the day, a lot of the stuff that we're doing on our site is to, I guess, get people to take part in certain things and to game and, take part in that entertainment. I think it's just making sure that you are crystal clear with how you communicate to them. And I guess this comes in hand with a lot of the responsible gambling stuff that we look at and Tim mentioned earlier. So I think it's just, we constantly talk to our customers. We constantly ask them about their understanding of the way they might perceive something on the site. And we do that constantly throughout our process. So we actually do a lot of sort of conceptual copy work, and then we'll come back to the final copy as well with that. But in general, like it's that kind of thing, and also looking at tracking different aspects of our site and actually looking at how those journeys sort of play out as well. So
okay, and very much being front of mind throughout, I think is one of the main points there. And it in part perhaps leads on to the next question here. So do you have any company standards when it comes to designing your software and user interface?
I mean, there's standards in so much as we try and make it as standardized as possible. So as Rich alluded to earlier, just making sure that we are trying to build a really sort of robust and flexible design system that caters for all eventualities within our products. And then, as a gaming organisation, we also have sort of compliance things that we need to make sure we're meeting. So, we need to be sensitive to the way we message our content. Try and take that a bit of a softer approach than you'd normally expect, just from a responsible gambling point of view. But I guess the standards are, in part on us to try and influence. Our products are different in so much they have different offerings, but again, consistency and standardization is something that I'm very sort of passionate about, and something that we're looking to try and adopt more within the team as we go forward.
Okay. Thanks again, team. The next question actually very much shadows the one that we just said, so I'll move on. Only a couple more to go now, and then we'll let you all enjoy the rest of your Wednesdays. So this one here, what is your relationship like with the development team?
I can answer that. So in terms of the relationship, it's really good. We have a lot of UX engineers and developers that actually sit, obviously, when we're in the office, close with us. And when we've obviously got the designs ready to move into dev, we were always getting them involved in terms of making sure that what we are initially thinking of right at the very start is going to be feasible from a technical perspective all the way through. And we work really close with them just to make sure that, what we're putting out on site does have that, parity between what we're saying we want it to look like and function like, as, it develops actually to come on site. So yeah, we're really close with the UXs and devs.
Fantastic. And the last question, and this could be a quick one because I think we have answered it in the most part here. So I'm looking to dedicate my career to UX design. So I'm not sure at what stage this person is, whether or not they're straight out of university, but they're asking what key skills and digital design portfolio pieces must they display. So we've already touched upon the fact that having a portfolio is great, but what are they trying to show off within that? What's nice to have? What's essential? And are there any things that you'd suggest perhaps not including in your portfolio?
Yeah. I think it depends what you're showing really, but I think the key thing for me is just showing your process and your thinking throughout that project. It could be something that's quite small, but I think getting into the detail of how you got from point A to point B and what your considerations were within that process is probably the most important aspect to any given piece of work. Whether that's something you're showing at an interview level or whether that's something that you're showcasing to a large group of people within a company that you're established in. I think, to me, that's the number one thing that you should be showing. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, I think it's the old adage of showing your workings out, isn't it? Like from your maths days at school. I think there's a lot of it is around, yes, it's the output, but it's about how you collaborate and how you get to that point, like how you've understood the problem, how you've gone around finding out the information to solve it in the best way possible. I guess that should never just be on the cutting room floor. It should be something that you're proud of and that you can share. And I think also just from a I guess a hard skill point of view is just being aware of some of the products that Adam alluded to earlier. Your kind of sketches and UX pins, just something that is industry used that will come into play. I guess once careers develop. So I think they're probably the main two from me.
Fantastic. Well, thank you all for attending and everyone for viewing and watching and asking the questions as well. Following this session, we will aim to get a recording of this sent out to you or even a link so you can play this back at a future date. Next week, for anyone who's interested, we've got the core delivery team who will effectively be running the same kind of session as well. So I'll definitely be tuning into that. But again, thank you very much. And I'm sure I'll speak to some of you again soon. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Cheers. Bye.